But Jordan, if you could, obviously there's been this, unfortunate circumstance when it comes to non-corporate progressive media, if you want to call it that, that just kind of get caught up in the whole, what's the sexy topic of the day? How do we get as many clicks as possible? And yet it seems to me that no one other than our good friend Steve Grumbine of Real Progressives has really tried to bring as much attention to this particular issue of the investigative journalism that you're doing. If you want to be different, if you don't want to be part of, as you said, TMZ light or just a different version of corporate media, even if you aren't getting paid like it, and all you're doing is just, because again, that's what corporate media does. Corporate media is all about clicks. They're not about results. And if you're going to be an independent media channel and all your concern is, how do I get more clicks? Then what are you doing? I really have to question what your ultimate goal is, because it's one thing to deal with a specific topic for a day, a couple of days. Some people are dealing with a particular topic about infighting on social media for weeks now. And to me, that should be a signal to everybody who's involved in this particular medium that is not advancing any of the causes that we're fighting for. What you just revealed to us about Philadelphia, about Joe Manchin, and about Breonna Taylor, everybody should be talking about this every day, because that's the only way that this is going to become a serious topic of conversation, and it's going to potentially lead to results. So please, by all means, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I think this really goes back to 2016. I started seeing this where, listen, a lot of progressives, whether they live online all day or don't, have understandable anger, cynicism, and frustration, and in some cases nihilism. Frankly, I get it because I have the same thing. Trust me. There's no antidepressant strong enough for me based on the shit I see on the road. It's horrible. It's corrupt. It's unjust. And I've cried on the road privately, seeing the stuff I see and the people I talk to. But I think the progressives movement, good-hearted people, not bad people, are becoming consumed with a little bit of cultism. What I mean by that is, I think progressives learned a valuable lesson that you can't put all your hopes and all your apples in one leader, whether it's Bernie, AOC. Nobody is unfallible, whether it's politicians, me, any media figure. But I think what the trend has been online is, I don't even use purity anymore. I think it's cultism. I think for specific hosts that people love and think are righteous and pure and right, if you don't agree with them 1000%, or you're not essentially kissing their ring 1000%, you're a sellout, you're a fraud, you're this, you're that. And I think that's a really, really not only counterproductive and self-sabotaging mentality, but it's just a dangerous mentality. And listen, Jimmy Dore is my friend. I'm just going to name names. Jimmy Dore is my friend. I like him. He's been good to me. I think he's unfairly criticized a lot. I think he's not a conspiracy theorist. He proves a lot of things he says to be true. But he's also not a god. I mean, that's the truth. He's not a god. He's not a king. And I don't agree with everything he does or says. So at the end of the day, you could hate TYT. I think my opinions are not a secret. You could think they're morally bankrupt and corrupt and you want to take them down. I really don't care either way. I mean, they'll succeed or fall based on what they're doing. But to me, there's just this growing trend where people truly believe. And again, I don't even think they're not bad people. People truly are starting to think that the most important topic at hand and the most vital story at hand, and the thing that we need to focus on that is like the holy grail, is covering TYT smearing Aaron Mate, or the Jimmy Dore battle with TYT, or, other channels, literally, I mean, let's just say it, driving this to the bank, clickbait wise. I mean, I think we're on week 4 now. I haven't kept on.
I honestly hate this and specifically do not like to talk about any of this. I think it's ridiculous. I am so done with these people and their nonsense. And we just plug along and do our thing. I cannot engage with that.
We addressed one thing. We addressed what Anna Kasparian
well,
did.
Yes, she was our bootlicker. She was our bootlicker of the week for that comment.
And that was one part of the show, and that needed to be addressed. But this idea that people can just endlessly talk about this stuff like this is, well, like you said, it's like high school. That's not what, if that's what your goal is, then I really question what your long-term plans are, because we're trying to get results. We're trying to get you elevated. We're trying to make these stories the central focus of what this movement is supposed to be about. At least I hope that's what it's about.
Yeah, I think the actual important thing to notice, and I agree with Jen, this is really not about Aaron, Jimmy, or TYT. It's a much deeper problem to me. This isn't about them. This is about literally the progressive movement eating itself alive. That's how the oligarchy has always remained in power. They've divided and conquered. I'm not saying TYT is necessarily capital P progressive. I don't think that. But again, it's not about them. And to me, it's not about Jimmy or Aaron. I've already said my piece on them. I did a live stream yesterday. This is about, people need to get out of this. You're a sellout. You're a fraud. And this minimalist extremist mentality of, to me, just self-sabotage. Bottom line, for example, Dave Weigel from the Washington Post tweeted out supporting my journalism today. I don't like the Washington Post. I've actually criticized Dave Weigel on Twitter. I retweeted him because it's about the stories for me. It's about the reporting for me. It's not about me. I don't give a shit where the elevation comes from. I care that these stories get out there. Kyle Kalinske, for example, him and Mike from the Humanist Report, while we were on this road trip, was literally the only people with an audience that covered, as humbly as I could say it, really important stories that we covered. Yeah. Kyle, specifically during his video covering one of our stories, told his subscribers to subscribe. We got 1,500 subscribers in a day. And
we can't do that for you. We're not going to be able to help you in that way.
We'll do the best
okay.
we can.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
That's okay. But the point is, you know how many comments came in from old TYT viewers saying, oh, we didn't know you're back. We've been on YouTube for 3 years, Jen, Peter.
Yeah.
They never see it for obvious reasons, YouTube. But the point is, just Kyle, who hasn't been embroiled in this fucking endless, Real Housewives of YouTube shit, just him, I didn't even ask him to do it. I guess he saw one of my DMs and did it. Just him doing that helped us get this to more eyeballs. And that's really the point. At the end of the day, if progressives online are so cynical, are so angry, are so frustrated, are so burn it all down, that if I don't or you don't feed you exactly what you want to hear at all times, which, by the way, is the mentality of a Fox News viewer, if we're not in lockstep in agreement on all things, if I had people like, I'm on the road for 2 weeks driving through 4 fucking states on a shoestring budget, working 16 hours a day, and I have people criticize me because I'm not covering this. Yeah, let me pause from interviewing the homeless people so I could do 10 videos on what we're talking about.
Let me tell you, when I was taking care of some stuff, one of the best videos you did was when you and Jen were driving and you just had the live stream going as you were driving from, I guess, West Virginia to Kentucky. And it's just this endless drive. But you know what? At what point, I think you had like 600-700 people watching. And that's just kind of, that is really being as efficient and as effective as you can be. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I found it very pleasing as you were driving, doing the talking.
That's always been like a really popular thing, even at TYT when we went live in the car, which I've always enjoyed.
Yeah. Oh, listen, I remember when it was, you, me, a lady who we won't name, and Fred Frost. And that was
Fred Frost.
Yeah. One of the
I
best
love Fred Frost.
because that was how it really, that was, I think I don't want to take any credit for it, but that was like something that we kind of just did. And it got really, really popular. Like a lot of people really liked those segments where it was just us driving around, but we were on the road. We were showing people what's really going on. And there's a yearning for that. There's a desire for that, but there is so much suppression. I mean, the suppression is, look, there's many reasons as to why our channel is suppressed. You know, we did a data analysis on our channel not too long ago. You know, we have just under 7,000 subscribers, and yet it's like less than 10% of our subscribers actually get notifications. So it's a really serious problem. And
you don't need to do a data analysis. YouTube CEO openly admitted why you're suppressed.
Wojcicki, you know, she doesn't hide it. I mean, they admit that they're on the take. And so and I think one of the best ways to, you know, wind down this conversation, and the reason why we do bring this up at the end about, you know, the other social media networks, is we really need to be working in concert to highlight the things that are very important. I mean, you know, rising tide lifts all boats, but this is really about focusing on what is important. And even though we're not the biggest channel, we make
we're not the smallest.
No,
but we're not the smallest. So
but we do make a concerted effort to try to lift up as many people as we can, and especially those that are speaking truth to power and actually have the best interests of, you know, what is necessary. And like you were saying before about people being canceled, and even though she is more on the mainstream, I give all the credit in the world to Crystal for, you know, having you on, her coming on your show. You know, she does go out of her way to highlight some of these very important things, as does Kyle, as does Mike Figueredo. We love Mike. Mike was one of the very first people. You know, you were the first person to interview Jen when she ran. The second big platform to interview Jen after she announced her candidacy was Mike Figueredo. You know, you never forget the people who do go out of their way when they don't have to. But
he came to my birthday party this year.
He did. He did. And it's, and
did you see it, Jordan? Did you see my 50th birthday?
I think I was on the road, so I didn't. Sorry.
Well,
if you haven't had a chance, just go back and watch when Nina.
Okay, but here's the highlight, though. Yeah. Okay, highlight of birthday 50, because like I feel like it should have a big thing. Chelsea Manning saying happy birthday to me.
Oh, that's nice.
On my live stream. That was the highlight of the 50th birthday for me. Like to me, that was cool.
There was like a handful of moments during that live stream that really stuck out. First, Jen's reaction to, because you know I know Nina personally as well, and I was able to.
I would have told you not to bother her.
Yeah, but she came on, and Jen just like, oh my God.
Squeal. Well, it never gets old. Nina, it never gets old.
Ironically, Vosh was on at the same time, and he was a deer in headlights when he saw Nina on the live stream. Like, he's like, oh my God. Nina. And then Bo of the Fifth Column was a deer in headlights when Chelsea Manning
came on.
Like it was like
a starstruck fest going on. It was kind of cool.
And a lot of people were saying after the fact, wow, you got so many amazing guests on your live stream. And, you know, we just kind of explained to them, it's like, it's because we do what is necessary to try to build an effective coalition where we are spreading this message where everyone can play a part. Everyone can feel like they can accomplish something. A lot of like you said, the nihilism is very real, and a lot of people have simply given up, and that's understandable. But I am not somebody who's going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If somebody believes that the best way to fight is within the Democratic Party, then support them. If somebody believes that the best way to fight is to form a third party, then support them. Don't tear somebody down like a lot of people who are trying to form a third party. All they want to do is tear people down who are trying to fight within the party infrastructure. Like that's not going to solve the problem.
I think another big thing, and this goes back to Jordan, what you were saying about this cult mentality, and something that I just won't even acknowledge anymore. The amount of people that feel the need. And as I'm saying this, I'm seeing the comments coming up about this. The amount of people that feel the need to comment on who I talk to, who I have on my show, whose show I go on, who I affiliate with, whether it's Vosh, whether it's Tim Pool, I don't care who it is. I will talk to anyone if it is going to make the message go further. And the fact that there's people that criticize that shows them out for being frauds. Because if you're about the message, then you're not going to ghost people. And this is ultimately what was my issue with Jimmy Dore. I don't care about any of the other drama. I don't care what he says. I really don't care. I'm a very live and let live. The fact that he ghosted us when we were running on the same issues that he was a proponent of, that indicates fraud to me. You don't get to say, I so believe in Medicare for all that I'm willing to fight with everybody and their mother, but I'm going to ignore the one candidate who's challenging the person who I hate the most.
And
that's a fraud.
And here's a great example of the one thing. Well, there are some, but this is one particular thing that Jimmy is right about. With the stories that you just shared with us tonight, they are very significant. If Tucker Carlson asked you to come on his show and to talk about these stories, is there anything to think about whether you would go on or not to present these stories to potentially 4 or 5 million people? And what that might do, especially since a lot of the people who live in states like Kentucky, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania watch Tucker Carlson, who have no idea that this is going on. And if they did, they might say, why the hell aren't our representatives doing something about this? Why is this allowed to go on? So this whole idea about gatekeeping and policing, we have discussed a particular person who we will not name, who we just will not have anything to do with.
Yeah.
But overall,
there's a lot of those. There's a lot of those.
You know who it is. You know who it is.
We don't have to say the name.
Yeah.
But there are so many people who have something to bring to the table, even if you do not agree with them 100%.
Yeah. I'll talk to anybody but said person. I really will. I don't care. I mean, yeah.
And I think that is really what needs to happen. So I'm making a pitch right now to every one of you guys out there. Kyle highlighted Jordan's stories. Mike Figueredo has highlighted Jordan's stories.
Yeah.
I have no doubt Crystal and Sagar will highlight these stories. But if you're an independent media and you're not highlighting these stories that Jordan is touching on right now, especially what Joe Manchin is doing, and especially the reason why Breonna Taylor is dead, you have to talk about this. You are almost, if you consider yourself an independent news source or channel, you are obligated to talk about this. This is serious shit. And all you want to do is get clicks. Well, you know what? That's a problem. This is a serious issue. Many serious issues. Yeah. I want Jordan Jordan should be funded the way that TYT was funded.
I'm a funder of Status Coup.
I'm a funder of Status Coup.
Thank you very much.
Any final thoughts before we conclude?
All right, but I have to do a shout out to Banana Booey because of this comment. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, that was all.
That does look lovely this evening, I will say. We just, she does.
I'm not bad for being in a trailer with no flat iron. I have no flat iron, and I feel like, okay, I could suck it up for a month without a flat iron, so.
It's amazing. She's in Asheville, which is probably one of the few places in the country that probably doesn't have a lot of problems. But I'm willing to bet that there are a lot of surrounding areas in Tennessee and North Carolina that have just the same kind of problems that West Virginia, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, they are dealing with, and it is not getting highlighted. One person who is running for office that I think you should absolutely have on your show is Erica Smith. She is running for the U.S. Senate in North Carolina, and she is a total progressive non-corporate candidate. And the reason I would highlight her is because she actually does have name recognition. She was a 3-term state senator in West Virginia. That's on your mind, but in North Carolina. And that does matter. That definitely helps, especially if you're trying to win. And she has there's 100 counties in North Carolina. She has that 100 county strategy, similar to kind of like what John Fetterman is trying to do right now in Pennsylvania. These are the people who truly need to be highlighted. And Jordan Chariton's work is what needs to be highlighted.
Look, Jordan, we got you a member.
Thank you, Blue Bandit.
Blue Bandit's one of our regulars.
Thank you, Blue Bandit.
Thank you very much. That
We're
means
actually
a lot.
having our members call tomorrow night, 7:30. So
We
slide up
had one last night, but only Peter and me and John showed up. So we ended up having a staff meeting.
When we get to 100,000 subscribers like Status Quo, I'm sure we will have quite the few people that will attend the meeting. But you should attend the call tomorrow night. And if you're on the call, that might even attract more people to come on. Be like, oh my God, Jen and Jordan, a team.
I don't know why you think that people know me like they know him.
Let's just say I have a lot to say on that call. So
yeah, see, that should be
I've never been on a members call. I should go. I should check.
You'll get the Zoom link if you're a member. I mean, I'll just end by, I really think that people need to understand, I don't really care what you call yourself, progressive, socialist, neoliberal, conservative, marshmallow. That's irrelevant to this point. People need to understand that we're in a two-prong information war. So suppression kind of understates it. We're in a two-prong information war. And that war on one end is what it's always been. One army is the corporate media that, to me, has done more to rig elections than any foreign government. To me, in addition to Bernie Sanders' numerous mistakes, a large reason he lost was MSNBC and CNN, stuffing, suburban white people's minds.
Jordan, let's call it what it is. They made Pete Buttigieg. They made
yes.
All right, let him finish. Let him finish.
They stuffed down everybody's throats. Biden's the pragmatic choice. Bernie's a radical. Biden will win in the Midwest. Bernie won't. Bernie's a socialist. They'll kill him. Biden's folksy. This was on and on and on for a year. And particularly when Bernie was on the verge of clinching the nomination, they cheerleaded for Biden when Obama rigged the whole thing and got everybody to drop out. So you got the corporate media on one end, not to mention, I mean, literally the Iowa caucus, which was actual election fraud, and the media just, Pete won, cheers. So that's one thing. So you have an information war coming from literally corporations that have hijacked the media. That's what corporate media means. Corporations have hijacked the journalistic structure. On the other end, you have a new development over the last 3 years. You have Silicon Valley and big tech literally erasing, for all intents and purposes, journalism, independent journalism. I'll give you a perfect example. And this is not to criticize Crystal. She literally openly admits this. Everybody loves Crystal Ball. I really like Crystal Ball. I appreciate her having me on. If Crystal Ball and Sagar didn't start at the Hill, there's a good chance the majority of their subscribers would have never seen them. If they would have just started as Generational Change or Status Quo,
they'd be us.
Yeah. There is a very good chance you would have never seen them, just like we are now getting old TYT viewers of mine who never saw Status Quo for 3 years, but just found us because Kyle.
Where have you been, Jordan? Where have you been all these years?
Right. So it's not I'm not taking away from them because they do a great job. And obviously look at what, the Hill Rising has become. It's really fallen off. But at the end of the day, being with a national corporate media outlet, which, by the way, their videos were also embedded into articles on the Hill.com website, which is heavily trafficked, they shot through the roof very quickly. I mean, they literally lapped Kyle, who's been doing this for, I think, 10 years, maybe longer.
Yeah, 2010.
So why is that important? Again, not taking anything away from them. Because they had that amazing head start due to the rigged algorithm that when they left the Hill, they already had that major audience that they could then move to a growing email list, which on top of it, because they were at the Hill, whatever, and it was being stuffed in people's feeds, got the attention of people like Joe Rogan and this and that, and on we go. So doesn't mean they're not great, but what it does mean is you literally have, algorithm is a fancy word for the puppet strings. You literally have puppet strings on top of supposedly free, democratic information delivery systems that are pulling for the status quo and bottling up anti-war voices, anti-capitalist voices, anti-fossil fuel voices, and any form of actual journalism that goes in the field. That's clear from what's happening to status quo. So if your focus is not on that and is instead on, yes, the TMZ-ification of independent media, and I don't really care if people cancel me or whatever, that's what it is. And food fights between people, even though I believe Aaron and certain people had a right to defend themselves and whatever, initial coverage, like Peter said, was warranted. But if you don't understand that we are not going to get any progressive change, Medicare for all, no. Green New Deal, no. Banning fracking, no. Ending private prisons, no. Actual reform on money in politics, no. Reparations for black people, forget it. Ending qualified immunity, I could go on and on and on. If you think any of that stuff is going to happen, if the progressive movement does not come together instead of canceling everybody that doesn't agree 1,000%, if you think any of those things are going to happen merely by taking TYT down, who I could care less if they live or die, if you think any of those things are going to happen merely by protesting outside Nancy Pelosi's office or Mitch McConnell's office or Sunrise Movement doing protests in DC, those are all great. But by completely ignoring the actual structure that's propping up this corrupt status quo, which is CNN, MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Associated Press, Daily Beast, BuzzFeed, and a lot of local media outlets, because I could give you horror stories about local media in Flint and elsewhere, including the Sun Sentinel that screwed Jim.
Oh, please. I that's a trash rag. Yeah.
So if you think, I'm not talking about violence. If you think only focusing on protesting politicians, only focusing on protesting BlackRock and Blackstone, only focusing on those things, but leaving these journalists free and comfortable, why aren't there people storming the gates of the New York Times? To be clear, outside, not storming like the Capitol.
Non-violently, in a non-violent manner.
Right. Why? I remember literally one protest in 2016 outside CNN's Los Angeles bureau with Bernie Sanders supporters. Since then, has there been any protest outside MSNBC on Rachel Maddow's Russiagating while ignoring everything else? Has there been any protest on the manufacturing consent in 2020 for Biden and Pete and Kamala and Beto and whoever was the establishment star of the week and the lies about Bernie? Nothing. You are ignoring the single structure that more than anybody else, more than the banks, more than the lobbyists, more than the real estate developers, more than the pharmaceutical companies, the media is what maintains the status quo. It is what brainwashes, frankly, not all older viewers, because there's a lot of older progressives. Most normie Democrats are brainwashed. I know a lot of them because of the media. If you are going to solely focus on, in my view, the Real Housewives of independent media, then we are going to be in the political wilderness for a very long time, probably long after we're all gone. And I just know from having, and by the way, I don't keep talking about how I go in the field because I think I'm better than anyone else. I think there's a role for everybody. It doesn't make me better because I go out there and somebody does a show from a studio. But the point is, if you have a big platform and your focus is on food fights, or if you have a small flat platform and you're fucking engulfing yourself in that food fight to build your audience and go for cheap clicks, then shame on you, because you ain't acting as a actual person who wants progressive change. You're just an opportunist who's trying to build a channel and get clicks. And I'll tell you what, I firmly believe this, and then I'll end my monologue. If the progressive movement and progressive media would come together and elevate each other, you actually can counter the corporate media. But if we keep doing what we're doing now, we are going to continue this same cycle of candidates that give us hope and corporations, politicians, and media companies coming together to sabotage them.
I think that this statement by Midnight Postman is absolutely correct. 100% bravo to you. The algorithm is fueling the TMZ-ification of progressive media by pushing views and rewarding the food fights. Exactly. They want us fighting. They don't want us getting along. So the more they know that this is also the thing. You do understand that the CIA is in everything, and they are in YouTube. And so they are going to look for anything that is going to cause dissension. This type of thing causes dissension. It causes dividing lines, and they're going to amplify it. In fact, without naming any channels, you're almost at the point now where you kind of need to tell them, you do understand the only reason you're growing is because the powers that be want this type of stuff, because you're not talking about stuff that's actually going to change what's currently happening.
Bingo.
If you think that they're not looking for like certain words to just say, oh yeah, they're talking about that. Perfect. Juice it, baby. That's going to get people talking, and that's going to get the whole thing about sell out this, not important topic that. And even though we might get, hopefully, over 1,000 views on this particular video between Mike Siegel and Julie Oliver, and obviously you coming on, we do want to highlight the importance, the sheer importance of these topics. We were just talking the other day. We had our, team call, if you will. And the next show we're hoping to do on Monday, knock on wood if it works out, we want to talk about a very significant solution to our economic problems, which is UBI versus a federal jobs guarantee. We want to have Steve come on, and we want to have Tom from Nerds for Humanity come on and talk about this very significant thing, which is, what is the best path right now to dealing with the homeless crisis? Is it UBI? Is it a federal jobs guarantee? Is it both? This is the type of stuff we need to be talking about.
Well, we only talk about normal issues. Like, that's all we do. I'm not getting engaged in that ridiculousness. We have a lot of cool, I try to cover important topics and get people that are knowledgeable. How complicated is that to do?
We were talking with a team member the other day about, what could we do to really increase the viewership on our channel? And he gave us one simple answer. Talk about the drama. I'm like, well, we're not doing that. Well, we're not doing that. But it's true. And that is unfortunately what sells. Cannot emphasize enough, guys. Investigative journalism is one of the last bastions of our Constitution that is still alive and still has value. Barely, not much, but it's still there. And freedom of the press is slowly but surely dying unless we band together to lift it up. I think we can all agree, as I've said before, when it comes to foreign investigative journalism, Aaron Mate is as good as it gets.
Well, we love the Gray Zone. I mean, look, the guys at the Gray Zone do seriously good work. That's all good.
When it comes to domestic, give Abby Martin credit too. She's pretty awesome as well.
Of course. Absolutely.
But when it comes to domestic investigative journalism, nobody is doing more important or better work for that matter than Jordan, Jen, and John at Status Quo.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.